Yo, what's happening, guys? It is your boy Wolfie here, and we are back with a new video on the Wolf of an Aston Villa podcast, brought to you by myself, Connor Wolf. Drop this video a like, drop a comment down below. I'd love to get involved and engaged with you as you drop a comment, and if you can hit that subscribe button to my channel, that would mean the world to me. Also, I'm proudly sponsored by Loot Roper, so if you do want to check out Loot Roper's website, link is down in the description below to Loot Roper's website, luke1977.com. Use the code WOLF20, all one word, for 20% off your whole order. So today's video is a little bit of a tactical debrief, or just like a general debrief, post, whatever you want to call it, post-match conversation, you name it, about the absolute disaster that we saw yesterday at St James's Park. Of course, it did finish Newcastle 5, Aston Villa 1. And as I've now calmed down a little bit, and I'm not as emotional as yesterday's video, and if you haven't watched that already, go and check it out. It will be somewhere above my head over there, as I am saying that right now. But we did play bad, but I think the Mings injury was the reason that we lost 5-1 rather than us just losing 2-1, 3-1, which I did actually predict a 3-1 loss. So the loss isn't really too, I don't know, I'm not really thinking too much about the loss. It was mainly the manner of the loss that was alarming yesterday. And I think for the first time since Unai Emery has come to Aston Villa, I think he was at fault, YouTube. I'm going to be honest. I think Unai Emery was partly to blame, along with a couple of key players that played awful, that was partly to blame for the reason that we did lose 5-1. So I'm going to show you the team right now. This was the team that we started with, which was Martinez in goal. The traditional back four that we did use a lot last season, apart from obviously it would be Moreno instead of Digne. McGinn, Louise and Kamara, Bailey on the right, and then Watkins and Diaby up front. And straight away, as soon as the team sheet come out, I didn't like it. And the reason being is I don't want to single him out, but I'm gonna because he played shit. And that was Leon Bailey. Now, if you can even just track your mind back to 7 days ago, okay? We played Valencia away in the final penultimate pre-season friendly. Leon Bailey in that game got dragged at half-time because he was awful. And not only was he awful going forward, he offered zero defensive cover. So as soon as I saw that Leon Bailey would obviously be... I actually did think it would be McGinn on the right and Bailey on the left. I thought that would be what it would be. For some reason, I just had a little feeling. But for then to move McGinn out of his position in which in the Newcastle, even in the friendly, pre-season friendly a couple of weeks ago against Newcastle, McGinn played brilliantly here on the right. One thing I will say though, a bit of sympathy for Unai Emery, is I think the plan was to have Buendia here instead of Leon Bailey. I think that was the plan. And then of course Buendia doing his ACL on Wednesday evening meant that probably then Leon Bailey did get the call-up. So I think maybe the plan was to go for that box four in the midfield with McGinn, Luis Kamara and Buendia on the left. Pretty much what we did against Newcastle in the pre-season friendly and what we did against Newcastle in the game at St James's Park. But obviously it was Moreno and Ramsey. But as soon as I saw the team sheet with Bailey, you just knew what was going to happen. And what was basically happening was Luca Dean was up here. Mings and Konsa were here. Again, this is in only just the first 30 minutes, 25 minutes. Matty Cash was here. Leon Bailey was up here. This is what was happening. McGinn played awful as well, but I have a little bit of sympathy for McGinn. He is not a left-sided attacker at all. He is a number 10 or like a right-sided attacker. Playing off the left for McGinn just doesn't work. We were basically left with that. That is genuinely what we were left with. Like, Diaby would drop in a little bit. Bailey would just be here, and we would have this massive gap here for Joe Linton, Gordon. They were constantly attack after attack down this right-hand side of ours, left-hand side of theirs. And it just did not work under any circumstances. It just did not work. And that's what I mean, YouTube, when I say that I think that's the first time Unai Emery has got a team selection wrong at Aston Villa. And that's good going. He's been here, 10 months now? So you can't knock him for that. But I would have started with Philogene on the right. And the reason being is Philogene actually does have some stuff going forward as well. He's very trickery. He's got very good trickery, sorry. He's very good on the ball. But also, the big plus point with Jadon Philogene compared to Leon Bailey is the fact that Philogene will track back and help out. Like, Philogene would have been here. Diaby would have been here. And it would have looked a lot more like that. And just a lot more solid. So I think Unai Emery has to take that on his chin and think, yeah, you know what? I didn't play well. I didn't set the team out right in that game at all. And I think he will, because, you know, he loves his spreadsheets and his presentation. They'll have watched the game probably 3 times already today at Bodymoor Heath. But he got it wrong. And he did get it wrong. But having said that, some of the performances, in particular from Cash, Bailey, Kamara and McGinn, weren't good at all. I'd even put Watkins in. You know what? I'll just put the whole 11 in there, bar Diaby and Martinez, really. I thought everyone from a man, bar Martinez and Diaby, was a poor. They just didn't show up, did they? And one thing that I noticed is it looked very much, I don't know if you will agree with this in the comment section, it looked very much like we were a continental team playing against the Premier League team. And what I mean by that, YouTube, is we looked like I don't know how to explain it, but, you know, physically, even my stepdad said this, that Newcastle's players just looked quicker, fitter and stronger than us, and they did. Newcastle's team looked like an English Premier League team, whereas our Aston Villa looked like a Spanish continental team. And I think we're going to have a couple of decisions going forward. Obviously, Tyrone Mings has had a really, really, really bad presumed ACL injury, so that is him and Buendia out for the season. So we have some big question marks now over the team. The high line again from Unai Emery. Well, not again. The high line in this game was probably the first Premier League game where we've been caught out with it. We've been caught out with it a lot during pre-season, but in the Premier League last season, we weren't caught out with the high line, so I don't really mind us using it in the Premier League. But yesterday at St James's Park was probably a performance where we shouldn't have gone with the high line. If you remember Chelsea away last season where we won 2-0, we didn't play with the high line. That was the type of performance that I was expecting yesterday from Unai Emery. I thought we'd have gone with Philogene at right wing, but helped out the right back. Would have gone with Luca. I personally would have thought that we would have gone with Concert at right back, Mings in the middle, Torres at left back, left centre back, and then Luca Dean as the left wing back, and then Philogene as the right wing, right midfielder, holding out the width on the right hand side. That's what I thought the team was going to be. And I know Philogene is just a young lad, but how do we know how good these players are unless we use them, right? Like, we can't have these players that are good, and especially Philogene that's looked good in pre-season against Premier League opposition. Like, you're forgetting, we played in the Premier League Summer Series in America that were all Premier League teams. I know it's only pre-season and it's not the intensity of the Premier League, blah, 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 and all that shit, I know. But he did well in pre-season. He deserved that start over Leon Bailey. And if you even want to just look on pre-season overall, Leon Bailey didn't deserve to start yesterday, and he didn't. And I think that's where Emery in particular has got it wrong. So going forward, I think there are a couple of question marks over the team. Now, I fully expect us, well, Zaniolo looks like it's done, so I'll have a new video out on that in the next couple of days when we get Here We Go from Fabrizio Romano about that. But I think we've got a few question marks over the team for Everton, which I'll do a predicted lineup probably on Wednesday for the Everton game, maybe Thursday, and then a match preview on Friday. I think there's a couple of things, but I think at this moment in time, with the 11 player, well, not the 11, but with the squad that we have got right now, I think Philogene has to start on the right, and I think we have to play 3 centre-backs that are Carlos, Concert and Torres, and I think we have to play Luca Dean as left wing-back. I think we have to. I think that's the only way we can get this team going. Play McGinn again in that central role with them Watkins and Diaby. I think that's the only way we can do it, really, YouTube. I don't know whether you agree with that, but fair play to Newcastle. They played really well. In yesterday's video, I know I got quite a few Newcastle fans giving me shit in the comment section. Oh, I'm all for it. You can give me as much shit as you want. But what I mean by I didn't think they played that well is I thought we kind of gifted them the game rather than them having to be amazing, if you kind of know what I'm saying. I'm not saying they played bad, but what I mean is like, we literally gifted them the game on a plate. Like, we played with a ridiculous high line against like Anthony Gordon. Isaac, who in particular is going to be a superstar, by the way. He is some player. Joe Linton ran as ragged. Tonali, the third man running from the midfield. And that is a point, actually, I want to make with the high line. Last season, when we played the high line, we played with an intensity off the ball to stop that high line coming over the top. But yesterday, I noticed it, and I don't know whether it's because Diaby was playing as the second striker and not a McGinn or Buendia, but we didn't seem to put any pressure on the Newcastle ball. So when Newcastle had the ball and they were passing it around their defence, there was no press, which meant when one of their midfielders were able to get on the ball, they had acres of space to turn up, get their head up, have a look, and look for them third-man runs off the high line. It just seemed too easy. Like, you know when you can just watch a game of football and you can tell it just doesn't look right? That's what I got from Aston Villa yesterday. So, Big work is needed from Unai Emery on the training ground. We will win against Everton next week, in my opinion, but it's not even the win that I want. I want to see an improved performance man to man. I want to see a proper performance next week. I want to see that Bournemouth result, you know, the 3-0. I want to see us really put a statement down, and then going into the Europa League conference qualifier again against more likely going to be Hibs. Put a statement down, perform well, win your battles, play with an intensity. I don't think we played with an intensity yesterday. Like I said earlier, Newcastle looked like a Premier League team. We looked like a continental team. Sorry, I got something in my mouth. We looked like a continental team. It just didn't work, in my opinion. So, big things to discuss. Big thing for me, though, is I do not, against Everton, I don't want to see Matty Cash and Bailey start. I don't think they deserve to start, regardless of my opinions on them as players, and I don't think they're good enough for Aston Villa anyway. But off the back of that performance, I don't think they deserve to start. Kamara had an absolute shocker as well. So Kamara needs to up his game. But the problem is not the problem with Kamara, but the problem with our squad at the minute, we have no one to play other than Kamara. So it's why I remember seeing us linked to Tyler Adams, and it makes sense. They are different type of holding midfielders, but at least Tyler Adams can play that role. Kamara was awful, and I'm holding Kamara's standards very high, by the way, because he's a very good footballer, right? Kamara was dreadful at St James Park. He was awful. Watkins needs to get his finishing boots on. He missed a couple of sitters in pre-season, and then I wouldn't put his chance yesterday as a sitter, but for me, he needs to at least be hitting the target there, YouTube. I'm going to be real. Like, it's not a difficult chance. You're like 10 yards out. A beautifully weighted ball from Diaby onto your strong right foot. You've at least got to hit the target. Surely, like, you can't be missing the target and scuffing that. We're talking about elite level football here, YouTube. Like, we're not talking Sunday League, Saturday League level. This is elite 100 grand a week players we're talking about. So he needs to improve his finishing for me, but I've got no doubts he will. He performed brilliantly last season under Unai Emery. So I think Ollie Watkins is very much a confidence player, but the fact he hasn't signed a new deal, the fact that Harry Kane has now left Spurs, I've got a little inkling. Maybe Tottenham Hotspur are going to come in with a big bid, which I don't think we'll accept anyway, but I do wonder if something's playing on his mind, which who knows. But that is going to be the end of the video, YouTube. Tactical debrief done. We need to improve. Excuse me. If we're going to play the high line, well, if we're going to continue to play the high line, we need to put pressure on the ball. And I just don't think that back four, including Torres, by the way, I don't think we can play a back four of Matty Cash, Konsa, Torres and Digne. I don't think it works. I just don't think it works, and I don't think it will ever work. Regardless of my opinions of the players, I'm talking from a physical profile. None of those players are quick at all. Elite Mings, who did have his faults, but he is rapid. So those balls over the top, he is able to cover and stuff like that. So couple of decisions for Unai Emery to really think about, but I suspect we will see a much better performance against Everton next week. Don't be surprised if we go 1-2-0 up in the first 10 minutes. I think we will come out of the gates flying at Villa Park. Fans will be expectant. They'll be buoyant. It'll be a good game. You know, Sean Dyche, 11 men behind the ball and all that, but fair play to Newcastle yesterday. Excuse me. They looked a lot better than I thought they would, actually. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's just because of all the stuff I've been hearing in the media and that. I thought Newcastle wouldn't have been as good as that. I thought there would have been a drop-off, but there wasn't. So, fair play. But thank you for watching, YouTube. Drop this video a like. Drop a comment down below if there's anything you do want to discuss. That would mean the world to me. Thank you for watching. Remember, spread the love and positivity. PMA, positive mental attitude. Peace out. One love. Up the Villa.